The governor giving this nationally televised address with a warning about the president.
This isn't just about protests here in Los Angeles. When Donald Trump sought blanket authority to commandeer the National Guard, he made that order apply to every state in this nation. This is about all of us. This is about you. California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other states are next. Democracy is next. Democracy is under assault before our eyes. This moment we have feared has arrived.
So we see photos now, and you can observe this with your own eyes, the dramatic escalation of what is a quasi-military role in Los Angeles. Now, remember, there is the Guard, and then there are the Marines. But on the National Guard alone, we are seeing them in images, sometimes put out by ICE itself. So this is part of what they want to boost. What they want people to see is that the Guard is out on these raids with ICE, escorting agents, backing them up for arrests. Recall, that is different than saying that there was an emergency need for the Guard to deal with a weekend rebellion. Then you have these active duty Marines who are not trained for this. Pentagon officials say they will be providing security to ICE agents as they do their work. If that sounds unusual to you or like something you've almost never heard of, that's because it is unusual. Indeed, the United States Marines are not a glorified security service for other domestic agencies, let alone Donald Trump or Stephen Miller's immigration priorities. Over in the more Republican area of Texas, their governor will be activating the National Guard, citing the protests. There has been no reports of police dealing with violence out of control or the kind of incidents that would typically, over our nation's history, justify bringing in the Guard. Remember, the National Guard is not a first resort. And then there's the news I mentioned. Defense Secretary Hegseth grilled over the military deployments. He's under oath here on Capitol Hill. And while some of this may still be a cross between dodging a question or trying to match the president's rhetoric, we are seeing, again, the normalizing or softening of the kind of lines that Pentagon chiefs in every administration and party would always be able to emphatically say, no, of course we don't use troops domestically to arrest American citizens. The raids and now the protests have swelled into something that is larger and beyond the city of Los Angeles.
When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do?
Hundreds of protesters gathered near 33rd and L following federal raids at Glen Valley Foods.
The mother of 19-year-old Emerson Colindres sharing her plea.
Just that they let my son go. He's not a criminal.
Our business is struggling, make no mistake, but I still get to go home and give my child a hug at night. These guys do not.
There are also signs of targeting children. In Florida, a Honduran teenager was, quote, removed from a foster home in handcuffs and shackles. And that's at odds with decades of child welfare practice in Florida, which is a conservative-leaning state, by the way. It also violates a 30-year-old rule, according to Miami Herald reporting. The Trump administration also using this time and this moment to lean into a wider set of attacks. And I want to be clear about this. Federal authorities do enforce federal law, and immigration is a federal power. Indeed, Donald Trump and his aides have been especially interested in it because, unlike many other places where there's a balance with the states, this is primarily a federal thing. But that does not mean that they usually send federal agents to run rampant off and run off and chase anyone and everyone who might be undocumented, especially people who have never been considered major targets or threats to the United States, long-term workers, people who are part of communities, people who have no other offenses, minors, as the example we just showed you. And so what you're seeing is both an expansion against the target class, basically almost everybody who might be undocumented, which is different than usual, and then the aggressive tactics of the federal forces. The Trump administration appears to want to show people that they can go military, that they can use militarized force, that the Marines are involved now. And is that the beginning? Is it the middle? Is it the end? A lot of experts we're hearing from say this is not the end, that they will do this and then try to build on this. The governor of California is saying it's not going to be just his state. Now, he doesn't have a crystal ball, But he clearly has been dealing with the administration, has a sense of what they're up to, and is concerned and warning that we are looking at a kind of semi-autocratic or police state set of tactics. Now, keep those warnings in mind when you turn to what else the administration is doing right now, when they know the visuals are out there and they know there are the visuals of these federal agents, federal officers, National Guard, and some Marines in the streets, which definitely raises tensions. And then they're going forward on prosecuting a member of the opposition party who was part of the criticism of this very deportation policy, the Democratic Congresswoman LaMonica McIver. Now, she had an altercation with officers in an ICE facility where she said she and other officials wanted to do oversight. You may recall there was some back and forth. But she's now facing 3 counts of resisting and interfering with federal officers. These could carry, if convicted, major prison sentences. And she is a member of the co-equal branch of government. And you'll note some of these offenses are the kind of things that aren't some ongoing criminal conspiracy allegation. They just reflect her interaction with federal officials deployed by Trump, who on a different day might be defending her and other members of Congress. Now they've turned around and said, you interfered with a federal officer, you're going to be prosecuted. Many experts say this is not a case on the level. The case filed the same day against the Newark mayor, who was on this program, talked about how it was baseless. They used a trespassing charge against him, and it was so weak and flimsy, it fell apart within 2 weeks, and they dropped the case. This is the other holdover from that case. Indeed, the Congresswoman was charged about a day after they backed off the mayor's case. Critics say it's a clear effort to lean into this moment with people in the streets and federal agents in the streets to show that Trump means business, that he will abuse power, that he wants to imprison opponents. I want to deal with this as carefully as possible. If you want to be broad and historical, other presidents have trafficked in the imagery of the military. President Bush criticized at times for how he leaned into it during the Iraq War and got himself on a plane in a photo op. You can go back further. I'm sure you have better examples than me. So how different is this and how distinct is it? The Times reporting that many people inside the military and veterans draw the difference from photo op to Marines on the streets.
And well, I flash back to Detroit in 1967 when there truly was a riot there, blocks of the city being burned, and Republican Governor Romney, Mitt Romney's dad, asked he wanted not only the National Guard, but asked President Johnson to come in and help. So you saw the collaboration of a Republican governor and Lyndon Johnson. But there was no need to call in the Marines. This idea of the Marines coming in, that did happen in 1992, with the acquittal of Rodney King. But that was a brutal situation going on there in the city. And the Marines, 1,200 were called in. Now Trump is using it in a really ugly and distracting way in Los Angeles. What possible reason are you putting 700 Marines standing around downtown LA while people are partying all around 2 blocks away? And it's not a rebellion. It's not a riot going on. And there's some unrest. And now we're in a camera age, so people are capturing everything. Anything, if an ICE agent oversteps a bound, they're going to be very likely captured unless it's being done in the dead of night. So this is just Donald Trump trying to score points politically, beat up on the state of California, and start setting a precedent where the Marines are his sort of Pinkerton police.
Yeah, and the deployments come amidst this wider crackdown, prosecuting opposition party members, threatening to go after Elon Musk's businesses. Even if you're an ally or a friend, you're not immune. We've seen that in other countries. And Musk now today backing down, basically saying that he went too far in the attacks on Trump. The Journal reports Musk is in retreat because he's called Trump in advance. A truce comes after, specifically Trump raising the possibility of abusing power, of targeting one individual for his free speech or criticism, and going after his businesses. And I'm curious if you think history is a guide that not everyone gets the bayonet or the gun. Some people that might not get threatened with arrest, but they're threatened with the kind of crackdown that affects them in business. Is that a way to understand this?
It really is. It's interesting. I mean, if we go back to the era of the robber barons, and with the Rockefeller squaring off against TR kind of tried to hold the Rockefellers at bay by doing antitrust, by saying nobody's above the law or above, rule and order. And now you're seeing Musk recognizing, I'm just going to kiss the ring of Trump because of the embeddedness of what Eisenhower had warned about as president of the industrial military complex. You have the technological order now married to the Trump administration. And one of the big stories in history of our time is how Silicon Valley has really moved to a populist right, mainly because of they want they don't like any kind of regulation in that industry. And Musk is caught between a rock and a hard place, and Trump could have made his life just miserable for him. I'm here in Texas, and Musk is cutting all sorts of deals with Governor Abbott, and Governor Abbott's not real happy of this Musk versus Trump square off. So alas, he went groveling to Donald Trump. I'm sure Trump will never trust him fully again, but it doesn't mean he's going to give away the red Tesla either. So that Trump ended up this week in a deep hole with Musk. Horrible news cycle for him, and now he seems to be turned it into a kind of win for himself. But yet it's also a win for Gavin Newsom in the sense that finally a leading Democrat besides AOC Bernie Sanders seems to be a voice of the resistant. Newsom is a thumbs up for the way he's behaved this week.
Right, and people are looking to understand where are the lines and who's fighting back. He's taking them to court saying he's trying to do that, and it's up to the judicial branch to decide if it's going to act quickly. I've explained they often don't.